Hello students, today we all are going to understand this chapter which is very important for the NEET examination. 2 to 3 questions are asked from this chapter, chemical coordination and integration. So today we all are going to understand this chapter, chemical coordination and integration. Okay, so let's start this chapter. This is a very interesting chapter. So students, let's understand firstly, there are lots of living organisms in this world, and specifically if we talk about the higher living organism, so there are two systems which control and coordinates all the activities. The very first system is neural system, and the second one is chemical system. This neural system is actually your complete nervous system, your brain, spinal cord, and whole lots of neurons in our body. And this neural system is very fast because the impulses are passed into the body in the form of electric current. Therefore, this neural coordination is very fast. Talking about the chemical coordination is very slow because these chemicals in our body is released from specific structures called glands into the blood. From the blood it goes to the target site where it actually shows its function. So this process seems very slow because it has to pass from the glands to the target sites via blood. Okay, so this system seems very slow. Okay, so we will be mainly focusing on this chemical system. Okay, this chemical system is also called as endocrine system in our body. Okay, so students, you understood there are two systems in our body which together control and coordinates all the body functions, right? So specifically we will be understanding in this chapter this chemical system, this chemical coordination, which is endocrine system. So we will be going into the detail of each gland, their structure, their function, everything we will be going into detail. So let's start with the gland. So firstly we will be talking about the gland. So glands are the specific structure or specialized structure in our body which secretes some chemicals, and these chemicals have some specific functions on the target site. So glands are specialized structures in our body which secrete some chemicals, and these chemicals have some specific functions on the target site. Every chemical is having a specific target site where it is going to show their function. Now talking about the classification of glands. Okay, so let's talk about the classification of types of glands. So students understand there are mainly 3 types of glands. The very first type of gland is called as exocrine gland. This is the first type. The second type of gland is called as endocrine gland. And the third type is the gland which acts both as exocrine and endocrine. So the third type is called as mixocrine gland. Or you can say mixed gland, or you can say composite gland, or you can say heterocrine gland. Okay, you can say mixocrine as well as you can say mixed gland. Okay, So starting with the very first one, let's understand one by one each one of them. So exocrine glands are those glands which releases their secretions via duct to the target site. Let's suppose this is the target site where these secretions are going to come and show their function, and this is the gland. So to the gland, to this target site, duct will be there, duct. Duct are tube-like structures which carries these chemicals. So duct will be there which will carry this secretion which is coming from the gland to the target site. So these are those glands which are having ducts. And remember, for this exocrine gland, always remember the target site will be very nearby. Very nearby. Nearby target is there. For example, let's take an example, salivary gland. Salivary gland is there in our oral cavity, and it secretes the saliva into the oral cavity itself. It means the gland and the target site is very nearby. Not only that, let's take more examples, students. The sweat glands, sebaceous glands, and your gastric glands, all of these are example of exocrine gland. So we can take some examples. Salivary gland falls in this category. Sweat or sebaceous gland also falls in this category. Gastric gland also falls in this category. And there are so many other examples. So we understood exocrine glands are those glands whose secretions are released to the target site via duct. They are very nearby. The target site of these glands are very nearby. And you will find all of these are some of the examples of exocrine gland. Talking about the endocrine gland, always remember, my champions, these endocrine glands are those glands which secrete their secretion. This is the gland. This is going to secrete their secretion into the bloodstream, into the systemic circulation, and through the blood it will go to the target site. Okay, so remember, generally for these glands, their target site is very far, because in our body bloodstream is there, like blood is there. Blood can easily carry these chemicals which are released by these glands to the target site. Okay, so for these, remember, target site is very far. Target site is very far. Yeah, and remember this, the secretions of endocrine gland is called as hormones. Is called as hormones. There are so many examples of endocrine gland. Starting with the very first example, very common, the master of master gland. The master, the supreme commander of all the glands, that is hypothalamus. Hypothalamus gland, pituitary gland, pineal gland, yeah, thymus, thyroid gland. There are so many examples. What we understood, in endocrine gland, the target site gets the secretions, which is hormone, through the blood. So from the gland, the target site, the hormones will be released into the blood and it will go to the target site. Yeah? And now talking about, and the target site is very far. Talking about the mixed or composite gland, or you can say heterocrine gland. So always remember, for mixed gland or composite gland or heterocrine gland, remember these are those glands which are acting as both endocrine as well as exocrine. Okay, they are acting as both endocrine as well as exocrine. For example, pancreas. Pancreas. Not only pancreas, gonads. What are gonads? Gonads are those structures in our body which is associated with the production, formation of gametes and also the sex hormones, right? So remember, gonads in male is testes. In male, the gonad will be testes, gonad will be ovaries. So these are those organs where gametogenesis, where the gamete formation will take place, and also the sex hormones. Okay, I guess this is clear to everyone, no? So gonads, testes, ovaries, and even pancreas are acting as a mixed composite or heterocrine gland. Now, why they are called as mixed gland? Remember, let's take an example of pancreas itself, right? So let's suppose this is your pancreas. Pancreas look like leaf clover structure. So remember, in the pancreas, there is a very fine duct which is called as pancreatic duct. This is called pancreatic duct. Through the pancreatic duct, a secretion will be released which is called pancreatic juice. And these pancreatic juice will be containing, you should know that trypsin is there. Trypsin is there. Pancreatic amylase is there. These are the chief enzymes which is present in the pancreatic juice. Trypsin, pancreatic amylase, and lipase. There are other also miscellaneous which is present, but these are the chief which is there in the pancreatic juice. So see, these secretions are released through the duct. So means this is acting as which gland? This is acting as exocrine gland, because this is acting as exocrine one. Because with the duct the secretion is going to happen. Now just beside these ducts we find millions of special cells are present. These cells which are present here are present in millions, and these are alpha, beta, gamma, deltoid cells. And these cells are going to secrete their secretion directly into blood without any duct. It means this is acting as which type of gland? This is acting as endocrine. Therefore, this kind of gland is called as mixocrine because both the functions are being performed, exocrine as well as endocrine. Okay, so for example, alpha cells are going to secrete glucagon. Beta cells are, let's suppose, going to secrete insulin, right? So on and so forth. These cells, see, glucagon, insulin. What insulin is going to do? It is going to lower the blood glucose level. It is going to decrease the blood glucose level if it is increasing the range. So if the blood glucose level is increased as the normal range, this insulin will be secreted and it will decrease the blood glucose level. Right? Glucagon, if the glucose level in the blood is lower than the normal one, this glucagon is going to increase the blood glucose level. Okay? So therefore, understood why this is called as mixed gland, right? Similarly, the testes and ovaries, both of them are secreting the gametes, like testes. From the testes, gametogenesis will happen, spermatogenesis. This sperm will be released via the vas deferens, the sperm duct. From so the duct is there, therefore it is exocrine, and also the hormones, sex hormones which are produced in the testes, testosterone will be released into the blood without any duct. So both the functions are being performed. Similarly, in the ovaries, you find fallopian tube is there, oviduct is there. So from the ovary, the egg will be released into the fallopian tube. This is your exocrine part, and from the ovaries, estrogen and progesterone, which are the sex hormones, will be released directly into the blood. So it is endocrine function. So therefore, such kind of glands are called mixed glands. Okay, so I hope this you understood.